People living in small towns. What's the recent scandal? The school gym teacher was fired after being caught masturbating in the equipment room. A few days later he killed himself. Everyone is a bit shaken up about it. Everything sucks about that. Our city council just voted to give themselves a 103% raise. The 3% is a nice touch, a nice flair, if you will. That's to account for inflation. A teacher posted a link to a site on his website for classwork instead of the recent assignment, and got fired immediately. Apparently this wasn't his first offense. There was a teacher at my middle school when I was younger who was fired for not just watching at school, but also accidentally having it open on his computer when he went on to project something to a class. I don't know how people can be so stupid. That's why you have to get a different laptop for work. Drama class was interrupted by a cow giving birth in the field across from the school. That's some small-town #T right there. According to the census there are 1,500 people total in my town, and that probably includes the sheep tbh. We don't know who, but someone has been going around egging random cars and throwing full water bottles at people's windshields. This happened in my town. A victim got aggressive about it and rammed the kids off the road. Killed monsieur. I knew a kid who tossed a half-full water bottle out the bus window at a moving car coming from the other way. We were on normal roads headed about 55 miles per hour in opposite directions. The whole windshield ended up shattered. The guy called the bus station and eventually got to talk to the kid. That probably had to be the worst ripping he had ever received in his life. A local police department likes to post wanted pictures on its Facebook page. The other day, I saw one of their wanted postings of some woman who is allegedly evading police for drug charges, and intent to distribute. The suspect herself commented on the post and said, "I'm not evading, I'm not on the run, I've been out of town, and when I come back I'm turning myself in." Maybe not a scandal, but I thought that was pretty funny. At least she's sincere. My grandparents' small town has had a recent outbreak of teenagers riding horses through the middle of downtown, while wearing nothing but face masks. It has happened a total of 3 times now, always different kids, always different horses. I don't know why, but this was the funniest to me. Like, are they going to hold up a stagecoach or some? Run like the wind, Bessie. It's the new bandits. We have a tourist train, runs from town A to town B. It was a particularly dry summer and the train started a fire that spread over 75,000 acres. The town is now suing the train station for loss of income. I'm not sure of the exact number, but I think it's in the ballpark of tens of millions of dollars. Feds want $25 million. That train is an awesome ride, but operating in an extreme drought, yikes. A pigeon got caught in the supermarket and it made front page of local news website with live updates. I am hollering, live updates. Genuine quotes. 13:30 No word on how the pigeon is getting on. 14:02 update. A security guard is currently attempting to capture the pigeon with a net, but it isn't going very well. 14:10 Store manager has declined request for comment. 14:50 Pigeon is freed. The town went with the lowest bidder for a big roadwork contract, and it turns out they were totally unqualified for the job and were messing stuff up. So the town fired them and hired the second lowest bidder. Same thing, they're on their 3rd contractor now, IRC, and the project, which was supposed to be done this summer, will hopefully be finished sometime next year. Hopefully they finish in time for the Piston Cup. He did fart in his cup. The guy that's been trolling our town's community Facebook page finally got banned. Lol. Banned from the Facebook page or driven out and banished from the small town? Or we gathered with pitchforks and torches and chased him to the county line. He won't be back. I don't use Facebook though, so I don't know about that. Town wanted to decommission the airport. The people did not. The people won. Usually it's the other way around. People buy 20-year-old houses next to a 45-year-old airport, then complain about the noise and petition to get the airport shut down. There's actually a huge amount of funding and research that goes into airport noise abatement. I got my degree in this. It's true. Hella studies are done. My small town includes a pretty large zoo and a tapir has recently escaped and is still at large. This reminds me, once in the city I used to live, a red panda escaped on his first day of being in his new enclosure. It was a big city and all trains were shut down because they thought they had seen him next to the train tracks. Turned out that he was just sleeping in a tree next to the enclosure. I'll never forget the day a tiny little red panda shut down the whole train traffic because he was sleeping in a tree. They did not find the tapir yet. How could you not find a tapir? Dude, in my city 2 capybaras escaped the zoo and were wandering around in a park for over a month. They are now called Bonnie and Clyde. Somebody in town has a bunch of mannequins in their front yard. I love that every town seems to have that weird art person who decorates the yard. Sometimes it's incorporated into the driving directions, like, take the first left after the carousel horse house, and every local knows exactly what's up. A couple months ago someone left their fire pit in their driveway for a few days. They received a mailed letter from an anonymous neighbor shaming them for making the neighborhood look bad. The recipient then posted the letter on the town's Facebook page. People ran with it and created the first annual front yard fire night. Your town sounds awesome. Not really recent, but the owner of the petting zoo turned out to be a serial murderer and buried 2 corpses under the goat enclosure. A lot of kids volunteered there and walked over them unknowingly. He murdered the couple, and used their house, car and money. How are there not 14 different podcasts on this story? During my sister's volleyball game, one of the super aggressive sports dads slapped someone else's kid cause apparently she set the ball into a bad positioning, and that caused his daughter to miss the spike one. His kid is at the game too. I played volleyball for a long time and my mom sent me footage of the set. She set that ball beautifully for the small league she's in 3. They won the game. Just be happy. The entire community is turned against him right now and the family of the girl is considering pressing charges, which I feel they should, cause this guy has gotten close to crossing the line before and he needs to be reprimanded for his actions. Edit. A lot of you have commented about how he didn't get to his beat at the game. No one had the chance because immediately realized he fucked up and ran out to his car. He drove away, leaving his kid to be embarrassed and alone in a court full of people pissed at her dad. And on a happier note, I've just learned from my mom that charges are being pressed, and investigations into the living conditions in his house are being conducted. I'll update when the results come in. I think that it'd be appropriate to file something for an adult striking a kid. A substitute teacher at the high school started smoking a joint in class in front of students. Edit. Apparently it was some kind of weed pen, not an actual joint. I mean, I love the devil's lettuce, but why would any sane adult think it's okay to do that? Apparently the guy has brain cancer, so that supposedly might have impaired his judgment. Our newly elected mayor caused in a head-on car crash, injuring 2 small children in the other car. She was found to be drunk and it was 3:30 p.m. on a weekday. The kicker, she wasn't charged with a crime, but she did resign after considerable thought. And GT, but she did resign after considerable thought. That's so sweet of her. So brave. I left my small town years ago, but I was home over Thanksgiving and got an earful. The local grocery store was renovated, expanded after 30 years, and now everything's moved and you can't find nothing. I was home for 4 days and literally every new social interaction with people in town involved the goddamn grocery store and how awful it is now. Spoiler, it actually looks quite nice and they hang signs over the aisles telling you where things are. You know, like a grocery store. I manage one of the stores in my town. We haven't moved anything around in over 5 years and I get people in all the time that claim, why did you move everything? This isn't where it was last time I was in. The scandal in my town is always the same. Someone is sleeping with someone else's husband, or the 50-year-old dating the 80-year-old. I grew up in a small town. It always amazed me the number of men who were dating their daughter's best friend. Is dating just a classier term for our town's more medium than small, but whatever. A month or so ago a couple high school gangs got into a huge mosh pit fight. About 6 months or so ago a college student got arrested for beheading his mother. Well, that escalated. Nothing really, other than a few porch pirates. Someone did shoot at one of them, but no one was injured at least. Since then it stopped for now. There's no police station in town and the nearest one is a half-hour drive, so sometimes we have to take matters into our own hands. And GT, someone did shoot at one of them, and GT, since then it stopped for now, you don't say. Well, the latest scandal is that the local amphibians experts are too busy to look at our village pond this year. We only want to make sure we make it good for the wildlife, so now we're on the hunt for an amphibian expert. I have a degree in zoology and a minor in chemistry. Head on down to a pool supply place and buy a water testing kit. That will tell you a good chunk of information. If you send me pictures, I'll give you a free look-see and tell you if it's cool or not. There even might be a subreddit where you can find out where the water pH and stuff should be for proper amphibian keeping. Edit. Thank you for the silvers. The only reason I know to use pool test strips is because my buddy is a huge terrarium person, and has all sorts of reptiles and amphibians. It's not as comprehensive as sending water samples to a lab, but it gives you the basic general info you will need. They have some that are pretty comprehensive, and test calcium hardness and other stuff. I'd love to hear the results of this. Meth. But that's nothing new. Edit. The responses of "it must be my state" is kinda alarming. South Dakota? I know we're all on it. Most of the Midwest, really. Although opioids are giving the meth business a hard time. Somebody's been murdering horses and PD is blaming wild boars, but at least a couple of the horses were shot, so why would anyone want to murder horses? It could be fun and exhilarating for a legitimate sociopath. If someone is really going around murdering horses for fun, they need to be locked up. That's a future serial killer. A vacant house exploded and no one is sure what caused it. To quote you, Asian absinthe, meth. But that's nothing new. A local has been taking people's money to do house repairs and not doing the work. Did it to an elderly lady in her 80s whose daughter is my mom's friend, and the daughter has been telling everyone, and now they wants to sue her for defamation by telling the truth. Guy's as bad as his dad, who ran for mayor and lost badly because nobody liked him and was caught telling lies. Better than last year's scandal. Someone was breaking into seasonal homes and was eventually caught with the stuff, drugs, and firearms. Our local brewery is shutting down and many loyal patrons are feeling lost. There are no scandals in my town. The town authorities cover everything up.